Good morning and welcome to Coffee with KPP Live, the show that's dedicated to providing you with advice for life so that you can live richly and work towards the life that you've earned. My name's Kyle Roy, financial advisor with Kentucky Planning Partners, and I'm joined for the first time with Marty Walthers, another financial advisor with Kentucky Planning Partners. So it's good to have you on the show, Marty.
Good to be here. Good morning.
Good morning. So Marty's been with Kentucky Planning Partners since 2007. He's been affiliated with Kentucky Planning Partners. And it's really exciting to have you on the show because you have really specialized in group benefits, employer benefits for the majority of your career. You're a wealth of knowledge, and today's show is really going to be dedicated for business owners, small to large business owners. If you have fewer than 500 employees, or if you're just starting up a company with a couple employees, we're going to be talking about the benefits of a 401k plan. We're going to talk about safe harbor 401ks. And also, though, don't shut this off if you're not a business owner, because if you're an employee of a small business that doesn't have a 401k, and after talking to Marty, there are a lot of those companies that are out there that don't have a 401k plan. We're going to arm you with some information that you can take back to your employer and your bosses and let them know that they have a resource with Kentucky Planning Partners to help build and design a 401k plan. So that's the goal of today's show. But first, I'd love Marty to tell you a little bit about himself. He's been in the business a long time. So tell us a little bit about you, Marty.
Yeah.
30 years in the business, a tremendous wealth of knowledge. Go. Tell everybody about
you're making me feel old now.
It's not old, it's experienced, is what it is.
Yes, I've been in financial services my entire career, both on the corporate side and spent the last 15, 16 years on the retail side. So I've seen the business from both sides of the fence, from corporate America to the retail client, and that's where we are here.
Well, you and I have that in common. So I started the first 17 years of my career on the corporate side, calling on financial advisors, and you did the same thing. So
exactly.
You were actually a wholesaler calling on financial advisors across the country for 16 years. You did that. So talk about that transition that you made. Why did you go from the corporate side to the retail side? In other words, what we like to say in the corporate to retail is going from working from a company to working for you.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think on the corporate side, it's a wonderful training ground. You learn a lot because you're working with financial advisors, you're working with brokers that are using your products with their end clients. So I think that experience really helped me along the line and certainly helped me enter the retail market.
Yeah, and you said something when we were preparing for the show. You said, I just saw what advisors did, and it seemed like a lot of fun, the relationships they built. And so over the last 14 years as being an advisor, I know we're going to talk about some of the relationships you've built, not only with individuals, but with corporations. So is it what you've wanted it to be? I'm looking about 14 years in the future, I hope. So, is it everything?
It's been a good ride. It's been a lot of fun, and I've built some great friendships along the way. Friends that I probably wouldn't have had otherwise, and they've introduced me to nice people as well. So it just keeps building. It's been a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. So talk about your experience with group benefits. So how have you worked with companies, and we'll talk about your specialty if you don't mind.
Yeah, of course. I spent the last 15 or so years working with an insurance firm. We installed and serviced employee benefits, everything from group medical plans, group disability and life plans, and also the 401k. That was certainly a natural part of one of the benefit offerings with companies. I worked with companies, 2-3 employees that were just getting started, all the way up to companies with close to 1,000 employees. So they all have different needs, but typically they all start out at one place fairly small, and hopefully they grow up. And it's been an interesting time working with both the smaller and the mid to large size companies.
And you've seen it all. You have a national presence. You have relationships all over the country, and you have seen companies literally from startup mature and grow as the plan administrator, right? So you've been the 401k provider, so you really have seen it all.
Yeah, we've been fortunate to work with some companies that started out with a dozen or so employees, and today they are doing very well. Multinational companies with over 1,000 employees.
That's great. That's just got to be an honor and a privilege to see that happen, because you were working with management right from the get-go.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah. So let's talk about 401ks for small and mid-sized businesses.
Sure.
And define a small and mid-sized business is really any company that has 500 or fewer employees.
I would say 100 or less
Okay.
employees for that small business model. But many companies, they're looking for a retirement solution for employees, that may be a group of a dozen or less. So I think speaking of the 401k, is still the best place to save for retirement. I think it's the best place to save for retirement for the employee as well as the employer.
So what we want to do is break down some misconceptions, because when I was surprised when we were talking about the amount of companies that are out there, relatively small companies, that don't have a 401k plan. And it might be because the business owners don't have the time, but or many other reasons. So let's talk about the misconceptions surrounding 401k plans. If you're a business owner or a plan sponsor, why might those people be afraid to start a plan, or why might not have they done it, and how can you help?
What we hear out there is business owners are apprehensive about starting up a plan for their employees because, one, they think it's going to cost them too much, the expenses are too high, and they think the process is cumbersome, too much administrative paperwork and issues. But and that may have been true 10, 15 years ago, but lately, with modern 401k plans and some of the providers that have entered the market, costs have come way down, as well as the administrative burden. So it can be very simple for an employer to implement for his employees, and certainly costs have come way down as well. So it's not as expensive as it used to be to install a 401k.
So if you're an employee that works for a company that doesn't yet have a plan, so again, we want to arm you with some information so that you can go back to your management team perhaps and tell them it's not that complicated. You have resources with Kentucky Planning Partners that have the experience and the wherewithal to be able to make it a simple process to relieve the burden so it's not so cumbersome. And quite frankly, the benefits. So let's talk about some of the benefits of a 401k, i.e. how much you can contribute, Roth investment capability. So let's talk about some of the benefits for those folks out there that really might want a 401k. How can we give them the courage to go to their bosses to get them one?
Well, you hit the nail on the head. Again, it's a good time to be setting up 401ks. The government has allowed for small businesses to reap tax credits, in some cases up to $15,000 in the first 3 years that they start up a plan.
And that's for the business itself?
That's for the employer.
Employer, okay.
So as far as the employee, of course, it's a wonderful place to save. Certainly you had mentioned the caps on saving. They can contribute, most employees can contribute $19,500 into the plan. That's over and above what you can contribute to an IRA. And many 401k plans have the benefit of a pre-tax savings plan or a Roth after-tax savings plan. And that doesn't have any income constraints or caps to it as far as like the IRAs. You can contribute to a Roth 401k just as you would a pre-tax 401k.
And it's pretty easy to implement a Roth option in a 401k, even on an existing plan. So if you are a business owner or work for a company and they don't have a Roth option, please give us a call at Kentucky Planning Partners, because we could do a review of their plan and potentially look to moving and implement a Roth option. And we don't want to assume you understand what a Roth is. A Roth, as opposed to a traditional 401k, is where you contribute after-tax dollars into your plan. And again, in a Roth 401k, you can contribute up to that limit, which is about $19,500 for most. And the beauty of a Roth is once you pay taxes on those, all the growth on those dollars grow tax-free. You never have to pay taxes on those again once you reach certain requirements, 59.5 and things like that. But the bottom line is those Roth those Roth contributions have tremendous tax benefits down the road, and you really encourage your clients and your business owners to put that Roth option for their employees.
Well, the interesting thing is many plans have the Roth provision already. Employees just don't know about it. And that's part of the job of the advisory firm you're working with, is to make sure that certainly it's installed correctly and it's monitored on an ongoing basis, but make sure the employees understand what's involved with the plan, or what's part of the plan.
And that's a really important point, because the education for employees, I think, is a huge advantage as to what you do and how you've differentiated yourself and how you've built really strong relationships with not only the business owners that you work with, but also their teams and their employees. So talk about your education process, during COVID, how you're still reaching out to employees to make sure that A, they understand what they have, B, that they are maximizing what they have, and how they're working toward that future that they're earning, quite frankly.
Right. Well, we just certainly in a COVID environment, we try to be creative, right? So, and we want to be as hands-on or hands-off as employees want us to be. So there's a number of things that we do to try to get the word out or communicate with employees. Certainly, we like to do group meetings. Over the last year, it's been difficult to do in-person meetings, but virtually has been, through Zoom and other virtual means, it's very effective. Something else we like to do are one-on-one meetings. I don't see a lot of advisory firms offering this, but it's sessions, 30-minute sessions with employees, just to educate them certainly about the capabilities and tools within their plan, but certain questions come up in those conversations about their personal finances, and so we like to look at the holistic picture of their personal finances, and that's really, I think, where it can be meaningful to employees.
Yeah, and absolutely. And what that does is the planning process not only customizes the investments within the 401k for each participant that Kentucky Planning Partners can work with, that Marty's been working with, but it also allows you to bring in other dollars that a family might have. So if a husband is working at the company you have, well, their spouse might have other assets from old employers that they had, old jobs that they had. And by building those relationships, you've been able to build a plan for somebody and make sure that you're incorporating all their life savings and that it's all working together. And that's really something different. That's something that you provide that most 401k providers don't.
Well, of course, when you're speaking with participants of a plan, many times they've worked elsewhere. They've had prior employers, and they may have different 401k balances out there, and they get ignored because they can't manage those in a consistent framework. So we try to help them, whether it's move their assets into the new employer plan or maybe consolidate them in an IRA. We try to help them consolidate and simplify their life a little bit with their assets so they can manage those in a consistent fashion with their asset allocation.
That's fantastic. And, it's one of those things as well. So when we look at employee well-being, education, so let's talk about why a 401k is going to help employees stay happy, because a financially healthy employee is going to be a more productive employee. When I was a young man at 20 years old, a mentor of mine said compensation drives behavior. If underemployed or employees that aren't taken care of just aren't going to be as productive and aren't going to be as happy, but also attracting talent to a firm. It's an extremely competitive job market. It is difficult for employers to find good workers right now. And a good 401k plan, a good benefits plan could be a great attractor of talent. So talk about how you've seen your clients utilize the 401k plan to maintain, retain, develop employees, but also attract talent.
Well, certainly that's a question that we get from employees all the time. there may be a 401k in place, but we get questions about, okay, what is the employer going to match my compensation or my contribution to the plan? So it is certainly something out there that employees are looking at when they're evaluating their overall compensation strategy. Of course, they're looking at their health benefits, they're looking at their life insurance benefits, their HSA, but it seems most importantly, they're looking at their 401k and that employer match. And what does it mean to me? And that is good news out there. When they get their quarterly statement and they see that balance of their own money adding up and compounding, along with an employer match, that's pretty strong. Mm-hmm. And that's something that will keep your good employees around for a while.
So not only does the plan potentially attract employees, and then again, to your point though, the education, because we see it all the time. We meet with people that are in their mid-40s that had a 401k but they never contributed to it. And working with Marty and the team at Kentucky Planning Partners, that education piece will help encourage employees to contribute and the benefits of doing that and keeping an eye on it, because it's really fulfilling to be able to see those account balances grow, and it gives you and your employees an idea of what you're working toward. But you mentioned something that we often find might be a hindrance for employers to start a plan. Again, it comes back to cost, which you mentioned before, is employee contributions. A lot of small business owners, especially that we talk to, are afraid that they can't afford that employee match. So what I want to do is talk generally about the safe harbor, why it's attractive for small business owners that have a relatively high income, and they might have few employees, especially if they're starting, that aren't making as much, but especially with business owners whose income is variable. Some months they might not have any cash flow, but they still have to make payroll. Other months are really strong. So let's talk about some of the benefits. Even if an employer has a match for their employees, how might they be able to save on taxes potentially, but also the ability for that business owner to put a significant amount, more than the 19.5 away. So talk about that if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure. And talking about the flexibility of a 401k, when an employer sets up a plan, they don't necessarily have to contribute or provide a match to their employees. That can come later on with the plan. But certainly, speaking of misconceptions with employees' contributions, many think that they don't contribute because they think that if they leave the company or separate service, that they're going to lose that money, which is simply not true. Every dollar that the employee puts into the plan goes with them wherever they go to. So
if you're an employee, you invest in your plan, that's your money.
That's correct.
The match may not be for a couple years, but if you're working for a company and you think that your money's going to be gone, that's most likely not the case. Give us a call and we'll be able to look at your plan and clarify that for you.
But employers, if they're concerned about top-heavy testing or compliance testing, getting checks back at the end of the year because they've over-contributed, there is something called a safe harbor where it allows employers to maximize their savings. And they can do that through a traditional safe harbor format, or they could also add a component as a profit sharing and contribute even over and above the $19,500 into the plan.
So, and all this, by the way, if you are finding yourself scratching your head thinking that this is interesting, give us a call at Kentucky Planning Partners, because we'll do a business analysis for you. We'll look at your business, and we have a team of resources where whether you're a restaurateur, we know that there are limitations as to how many people are earning tips versus that aren't, that make you eligible for these types of plans. And we'll do that analysis for you. We're not going to bill you for the time to see if you're a good fit or what type of plan might work for you. And I can't, the time that you would invest with us just to find out what you're eligible to do could be a tremendous boon for your business. And it might just be that glass ceiling that you keep hitting. A 401k might just be that catalyst to get you through to the next level, so that your employees are going to be more loyal. They're going to be more committed because they know that they're able to invest in themselves. They see you investing in them, in each team member, and you're investing in their future and their well-being. And again, you've seen that, Marty. You've seen companies go from a dozen employees to over 1,000 employees. Now, granted, it wasn't just because of their 401k, right?
Right.
But the 401k is a part of it. It is a common denominator that great leaders and great companies have, and they're going to invest in their people.
Yeah, every employee is responsible for saving for their retirement. So at some point in time, when they decide to call it quits, they have an income stream that they can trigger. And I've always said you can finance everything in the world, you just can't finance your retirement plan. So it's important for both employers as well as employees to think about that and put together a plan that's going to benefit them now and in the future.
I love it. Anything else you want to add to?
I don't think so. I think we covered it.
This
has been fun.
Yeah. It's really a great time. Thank you for the conversation, and for all of those of you out there, if you found this interesting, if you're really you're struggling to take the time, invest the time, because especially as a business owner, we know you're the CEO down to the custodian to everything in between oftentimes, and you might be drinking through a fire hose trying to make sure you're managing payroll and all the details it takes to run a business. Give us a call at Kentucky Planning Partners, because not only with your 401k, but we also do business valuations, buy-sell agreements, and we can really help partner with you to make sure that you can spend the time focused on your business. And many business owners allow us to focus on the finances and their personal finances and make sure that they can do what they love and be able to fund it and pay for it for their entire life. And if you have questions about your 401k plan, you want to review, if you have an existing plan and you'd like another set of eyes and ears to look at it and listen to you and what you're looking for, give us a call at Kentucky Planning Partners. Marty and his experience could be invaluable to you, your team, your employees, and we're grateful. We're taking on new clients, and we'd love the opportunity to help you. So with that said, on behalf of everybody at Kentucky Planning Partners, thank you for watching. Our phone number is 502-394-0400. We are located in the heart of Louisville's east side on the corner of Shelbyville Road and Hurstbourne Lane, and we look forward to seeing you next week and appreciate the opportunity to serve you and help you with all your financial needs. Have a great